Hey everybody, I'm going to talk a little bit about power, okay? And I want you guys to pay attention to this. I might give a couple examples of something that could happen to you too. As I've said in many videos, shamanism can be considered humanity's first spiritual journey, and it was just about inquiring about life. They saw a lot of things happening in nature, and they wanted to try and understand that. They wanted to understand the things that were happening to them, the seasons, pregnancies, and so on. And so it was a quest for knowledge. And in that knowledge, they discovered a lot of it could be associated with power. We've said in many cultures too, that knowledge is power. Is it just the knowledge itself? No, it's also the application of that knowledge that give the power to do great things, such as healing, the power to invent things, the power to change your societies, form better lives. It's the power of destruction. With that power comes a lot of responsibility. It's like when you're first, as a kid, learning to use fire. You can get burned. You can burn things that you didn't intend to burn, so on. That's power. I'm going to give an example of something that happened recently. On November 22nd, a young lady, 20-year-old young lady in Hungary, contacted me and wanted me to help with her father's recovery. He had a stroke. Of course, there's no oxygen going to the brain for a little while. And he ended up being paralyzed and was paralyzed in his hospital gurney type bed, for a year by the time that she contacted me. Long story short, within the first application of things that I gave her to do, he could move his eyes around. Now, this is somebody that's but looks like a waking coma, just laying there, eyes open, eyes have to be hydrated. When the hospital told her to take him home, probably wouldn't live more than a couple months, and that was it. So then, as things progressed, we got to where he could move his head. He could actually try to sit up. He was moving his feet a little bit, all inside of 6 weeks. And now people would look at this and say, wow, it's a miracle. Well, you could look at that. I mean, in a normal sense of things, it is, because people aren't used to seeing that. And we have to really start looking at the definition of miracle. It's a miracle when people aren't used to seeing these things all the time. It's not a miracle if it becomes normalcy. But no matter which way you're going to use to describe it, you have to look at it as there was an administration of power. A power to rejuvenate, restart the nervous system, power of mind, heart, body connection. When you start looking at the complexity of the mechanism of the human physiology, it's intricate, it's complex. It's wondrous. I mean, and this is why I really love this type of work. But these types of healings and come into these, I describe them as packages. It's we can do X amount in X amount of time if you follow my instructions. And with this package of power, I just don't know another way to describe it. These things, I don't usually think of these things in English, so when I try to put them in English, it's insufficient as far as this language goes. So I tell them I have X amount of time to work with you in this capacity, and we're going to try and get these things done. And then after that, we have to switch it up a little bit. And the big thing with people, when they really want to get into the power, the first thing they have to do is drop a lot of boundaries, a lot of personal boundaries. Because when we look at something like the pyramids, and people say, well, they did X amount of, it took them 20 years to build one. If you look at the blocks in there, they'd have to take one of these 250-ton blocks, take it out of the quarry, shape it, and put it in place, one of them every 5 minutes. And you say, well, that's some power. Yeah. But those people were able to get away from all their boundaries, whether social, personal, whatever, and do the energy exercises required to accomplish that kind of a project. Same thing if you're pulling somebody out of something like paralysis. I've worked with people that were terminal and, given death dates, by doctors. Oh, you'll be dead by this time, all the way up to AIDS patients who should be dead in a couple weeks. But you have to, I and they and other people within that theater, because it's a performance that's taking place, have to do the energetic equations required to make those things happen, to garnish that kind of a power. And when people hesitate, it's like throwing a wrench into the mechanisms, and it starts to just cause damage to the equation. In other words, the best I can describe that. And so it got to this point where she just looked at that and just said, no, I can't go into this other phase. I just can't do that. Okay, no problem. Nice working with you, and that's that. And people say, well, you're just going to go ahead and stop? It's like, excuse me, but we took this amount of power to get this person to this change. We did that because we were both engaged in this process of this power application, and therefore we were able to achieve what was believed to be the impossible. You're not going to change that. If you're cooking on the stove and you have 3 burners going, a good propane or gas stove, you can't take that in mid-process and put candles under each pot and expect the same results. It just won't happen. That's just the physics of it. And in this case, it's the metaphysics of it. So now the person is like really confronting themselves, like, how much do I really care about my father to where I will not change my personal programming, or I will not engage in the next level required to be able to take this to a full healing? And so I'm telling you guys this because you can find yourself in the same place. You can get the pictures. The exercises that we give people to start off with allow you to be able to get the information you need. But will you do what's required? You get these in the pictures, and that's up to you. It's a choice that you have to make. And so many people that I've worked with in these conditions will look at the power involved, the power that they'll be able to embrace and manipulate and apply, and then go, no, I can't do that. They'll go back into the same lifestyles. They'll go back into the same type of relationships that diminish their power, or take what they just got and pretty much pearls before swine. And I don't care how people consider that example, but it's the truth. As you're progressing, and you're finding out you're able to manipulate power that you didn't think was possible, you didn't know you had, you're going to have to be facing some choices of how far do you want to go. And like this with this young lady in Hungary, she's going to be in this situation that comes up next. Is like, as that window of opportunity to go that next level closes, all right, and I told her, if it starts to go backwards and you're not ready to go forward to the next level, I can't fix this. He'll stay where he's at, or he'll regress to the way he was when we started. So now she's put in a situation is like, how much am I really walking my talk? Of how devoted I am to help healing. She quit college to work on him, to take care of him, change his clothes. All this stuff. No one can believe the progress that was done. And she told them what we were doing. And she's like, no, I just can't believe it. The people, the doctors and whoever. So people, what can happen to you is you'll be faced with this decision of, am I ready to do what's required next? Am I ready to keep on going? Where will I stop? Where will I say, this is enough? And at that same time, your other option is you'll be way out of where you were in your perceptions and knowledge and how you can apply things. and then that much out of normalcy. And then when you stop, you'll always wonder where you could have gone. And you'll be in those places between those two worlds. To me, that's shamanic hell. Okay, you can't go any further. And some people wish they never started. So I just wanted to leave you with that, guys. If that sounds like a sad picture, the great picture is you can continue on and be making great achievements. You can be making huge accomplishments in the shamanic field. It's a lifestyle of awe. I mean, when you're looking at like, oh my God, this is just so awesome. This is just, those moments aren't few and far between, but then it becomes, to me, it was like an addiction. How far can I go? What greater things can I do? What more complex healings can I be a part of? How can I really change things? And to me, that was a thirst that just couldn't be quenched. Is it a thirst for power? Probably. You can get into anything from the healing all the way into the darker arts where you're helping real possessions, real banishments, fighting real negative energies, not some new age make-believe bullshit. It's the jazz of it. Think about that, people, because when you get to that line, when you have to make that decision, that gateway or portal of opportunity doesn't stay open long. And you have to make that quick decision of what am I going to do next. And that decision maybe just takes, you only have a couple seconds to decide how much of a life change am I going to make? How much power am I willing to test myself with? And I look at this as another example of people when they're electricity. Those little toys that you put a couple batteries in, you can get shocked with that. It's just a little snap. It's like the static electricity of taking clothes out of a dryer. Or you can get up to the power lines across countries, hundreds of thousands of volts. But then there's that little part in between. When you're walking across the carpet and you touch something and you get that little pop, that's 6 millijoules of electricity. It takes 0.04 to ignite methane. See, that adds a whole new dimension into the power of the cause and effect. You'll never feel that 0.04, but that 0.04 in that environment with that other element in there can cause a lot of change. I hope you guys will give this a lot of thought. Feel free to put some comments down there. You can bring this up in chat, on the classes. And until then, I'll catch you guys later.